Hey everyone! Today I have a special video for you guys. It's a 2021 review. I know we're still in the middle of December, but I got a special guest for you today and I'm very happy about it. It's Sinzar, as the slide already spoils. So Sinzar, please introduce yourself, although you don't need an introduction technically.
Hey guys, yep, I'm just very enthusiastic FFBE player and glad to join Livy on this video.
Right. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you're all good. I know it's very early in the morning for you. Thank you very much for, well, being up so early, I guess. But it appears to be that you are more the early bird. Could it be?
Oh yeah, usually I'm up pretty early, so this for me is totally normal.
Right. I woke up at 11 a.m. my time, so I'm more the night bird. How you call that in the English version? I only know the German one, but I like to sleep in. But alright, what's our plan for today? So, as you can see, we are going to review things from 2021 in FFBE. We got a lot of great things, mainly Clash of Worlds. That's certainly something we're gonna talk about very soon. But let's get this started. We've got 6 topics ahead of us. Let's get started with the first one, and that is our favorite new features or events. So, would you like to start this off with your top 3 choices?
Sure thing. So the first thing is auto repeat. It's one of the new features. It's just like a huge quality of life. For example, like doing the arena orbs now, I no longer have to, set all the units for the proper chaining. You can turn it on and like literally lazy mode a trial if you set up a self-sustaining turn, which is going to be a big a big deal in the future if we copy JP. But just even for something like it's just like farming the Mog events and stuff, just being able to turn on repeat and have it do things like I'm like a huge efficiency player. So like when I run Mog events, I have 2 of the bonus units using Pilfer Gill just for
Oh,
every speck of efficiency. So auto repeat is just a huge quality of life change that
mm.
I love that they added to the game. It's a small thing. It doesn't really change the game much, but it just makes it a better game overall. So I'm just really glad they added this feature.
Yeah, same. You know what I thought about earlier today when I was thinking about the auto replay or auto repeat features. They could expand further on this idea by giving us a loop function for, say, mocking that you tell the game, I want to loop this 4 times, 5 times, depending on how much energy you have, and the game would then loop it all up with your repeat function, and you would just AFK basically. I think Near Reincarnation has something like that, where you just say, tell the game, do this mission 5 times over and over until my energy is depleted, and it just repeats all your actions you did. Pretty much an extension of what we have right now.
Yeah, they actually have that in War of the Visions,
Oh,
a different game from Gumi. Yeah, it's yeah, I only played War of the Visions briefly, but I do remember you could turn it on and there was like a feature. It would say run this quest until I run out of energy, and it actually had an option to even start using energy potions until you turned it off. So
oh,
it's basically exactly what you're saying. So I guess maybe there's a potential for Gumi to add that to Brave Exvius at some point, maybe.
I hope so. It'd be great. Now, my next point would then be Vision World. You guys probably know already that I'm a huge fan of Dark Visions slash Vision World, although Dark Visions, the last one was kind of but because it, well, it's so bad in comparison to what Vision World provides with the huge Lapis gain and the battle rewards. But I felt like I'm really a fan of Trials of Mana or the Mana series in general, so Vision World was pretty much my highlight of the last couple of half a year, basically. So yeah, I like the concept of it, the story that they try to involve in all of this, the little bits, tidbits of story at least. And it was just a cool event. And Belladonna, even though Belladonna had like 3 or 4 abilities, it was a fun fight when you took it to extremes. Like I know Resnot had a 33 turn strategy, which was absolutely crazy. I'm not gonna spoil the fun because I'm gonna use the strat for the next Vision World, but it's you can do crazy things just like you could with it wasn't Phoenix, it was Tetra last week where I did the 16 turn strat with reviving the boss. You didn't do that, right, Sensor? So you just went ahead, turned forward it, and noped out.
Yeah, like I overall enjoy Vision, not Vision World. Well, Vision World Dark Vision is the same, gameplay style. Like overall,
Hmm.
I'm okay with it. I enjoy it, but yeah, I didn't have Arn and I didn't have Angela. So for me, doing a 16 turn class, there was really not any benefit for it because like the units
True.
I did use, like Sephiroth, Tifa, and Carton, they were all good to go on turn two. So it's like there's no reason to go to turn 16, so I didn't.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
that's why I didn't do it. But yeah, as far as Vision World go, I do agree completely. Like Dark Visions is just, I mean, Vision World is just Dark Visions, but better in every possible way. Better rewards, better graphics, better visuals, better nostalgia, better music. So yeah, like I wish we just got rid of Dark Visions entirely and every month was a Vision World. But because they are like more work to create, I suppose on the
Hmm.
developer side, it's probably harder to sustain that.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm glad we have it on the global side of things. So Legends of Mana, hype, and Xenogears and all that stuff. It's gonna be glorious. Now we both put Clash of Wills on the list. You in particular love Clash of Wills. Why don't you guide us through as to why you love Clash of Wills that much?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because the big reason that I love Brave Exvius, from the beginning was like the trial content and that like hard, challenging fights is what I enjoy. Originally, I was playing Final Fantasy Record Keeper, and the reason I enjoyed that was one thing I enjoy Final Fantasy games, just the whole series in general. But
Hmm.
Record Keeper had like trial fights, and that was a really big deal of the game. So when Brave Exvius came out, and I started playing it. It didn't really have trial fights in the first few months, but they started adding them and they were really fun. And then over the years, they added more. They were more exciting, like Venomous Vines and all that kind of stuff I've mentioned are some of my favorite trials.
Hmm.
But, in the past like year and a half, those have kind of like gone away. We don't really have interesting trials anymore. So Clash of Wills is like the replacement for that. When you want like a challenging, really dangerous fight that pushes your team to its limit, Clash of Wills is like the only thing remaining, and I really enjoy it. I think the developers put a ton of work into it, and it really pays off because these fights are exceptionally razor tuned, which
Oh
is
yes.
so good, and it's like it's mind-boggling that they can do it so well to where like Kairos and what was the one, the Mortrum,
Hmm.
like units are like just barely surviving. It's such a fine line between survival and like death on these bosses with all the modifiers turned on, and it's just like it's just a really big thumbs up for me that they can get it that tightly tuned, and it's just so well, and it's so fun. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Clash of Wills earlier, but now that I've caught up with the latest units, especially the supporting units like Kresnik, I'm enjoying it more. Like Tresham wasn't the hardest one. I would say um, the one on display. What's his name? I forgot again. Kairos, the Invincible. That was peak design, in my opinion. After thinking about it for a long time, like you mentioned, this boss was so razor sharply tuned that Behemi, which I think you also used, was just barely surviving, but it was fun. I mean, it was kind of nerve wracking when he didn't, but it was just so well tuned, the fight. And I kind of missed that on Mortrim, for example. I really, really disliked Mortrim. It was overcomplicated, in my opinion at least. Although, if you figure this fight out entirely, it was predictable, but still figuring this out was a huge nightmare for me at least. I don't know how was for you, the figuring out part especially.
Yeah, it does feel like Clash of Wills got like better and better from the first three fights. Like Morgana was fine; it was their first try. Asta was a little bit too easy. Then Kairos, I feel like you say, that was the absolute best one of the five we've had. Then it went a little bit downhill because they changed the scoring, they changed the overall design, where it wasn't so much that you were intended to like bulk up and survive your team. We went back to like the Dark Vision style where you're supposed to immune the damage because the damage was so extreme you
Oh yeah.
couldn't survive it anymore. So you had to resort to ways to immune it, like Kresnik and all that kind of stuff. So that was a little bit disappointing where they kind of like backpedaled a bit on design. So hopefully the next one coming out will be closer to Kairos as opposed to like Morturum.
I hope so too. One thing I mentioned earlier is that the role of support units is very much, well, they are present compared to JP, where supporting units just don't have any purpose anymore. I feel like that's my impression from all the videos I watch from JP, from the JP server. And I feel like Gumi did an exceptional job at bringing back A tanks for things like Kairos or Threshen, and support units such as Kresnik. I underestimated Kresnik's value completely when I did my initial review. Now, I'm very happy to have him now, and I feel like Gumi just did it right with support units. They made Kresnik so important to Threshen, and he was a huge help at Mortarim, although he wasn't technically needed so much. But he was just awesome to have, and he made that fight significantly easier. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, for sure. I will say, like, a kind of small ray of hope is in the recent JP Dark Visions. Tanks are becoming a little bit more relevant again in Dark
Oh.
Visions and JP. So hopefully in the future that like trickles down to global, because they made it to where you can take 5,000 or less damage without a penalty in Dark Visions.
Oh.
Meaning, if you bring a tank and your tank mitigates the damage like through the roof, kind of like Beatrix did on the Behemoth Dark Visions we had, that allows you to take zero damage or take zero penalty because the damage is so mitigated. So that is a good change in the future. But on global today, I agree completely that we currently have a value for tanks, defensive buffers, mitigations, and all that. Whereas that's just not really a thing anywhere in the game other than Clash of Wills right now.
Yeah, I really hope that Gumi's whole, how do I put this? The effort they put in into Clash of Wills, that it eventually trickles down to Alum, that they also start designing really challenging fights and engaging fights like the ones we had in Clash of Wills. I mean, maybe we're already seeing it from the latest trials that are a little bit too harshly tuned, maybe on the JP server, but I'm just hoping that it trickles down from the global server to the JP server as well, which then translates back to the global server. It's the endless cycle, so to speak. I'm really hoping the best for trials in the near future, because Gumi, they did the first step and was pretty good with Clash of Wills, I'd say.
Oh yeah, Clash of Wills is definitely best thing they've added in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised that Gumi has been able to keep this up for now 6 months in a row, where we are getting a new Clash of Wills unit each month, and with one exception, I would say Oliveira, they are all very cool and very good units, so to speak.
Oh geez, Oliveira. One of my biggest regrets for chasing him.
I got him from a ticket, so I'm not too sad. But I mean, he will find his niche eventually. Maybe, maybe not.
I sure hope so.
All right, and then there's the boss rush on your list as well. Why did you put this on your list?
Oh yeah, Boss Rush is kind of the same extension of Clash of Wills, where it's challenging, but it's obviously significantly less challenging Clash of Wills. But this is more. I say this like the boss rushes that are coming soon to global. I played the JP server, and a few of the ones in the future they're nowhere near Clash of Wills challenge level, but there's a few of them coming that are still on the level of like a trial fight where you need a
Oh,
properly built team with some survival mitigation. You need a tank, and it's just the same kind of thing of like a trial where they're just really fun because you got to build a team. You got a like DPS check, you got the tank check, survival. You need to
hmm.
deal with some of the mechanics. It's just like a lighter version of a trial, and they're fun. And I kind of wish they would do these more often. We've only got like two or three coming from JP in the future. We've only had like two or three in the past year on global. So they're really rare. And I wish this was like a monthly event or even like a weekly event or something. But the overall boss rush are just really fun to me.
Oh, that sounds cool. I didn't know we are getting more of those, or at least two or three more. But just one question: can you cheese them with smokescreen or a hide again, like we could in the summer event?
Uh, no, thankfully, well, depending on who you ask, for me, it's thankfully they realized their mistake and they disabled escaping on the ones coming later.
Okay. Well, too bad if you're hoping for an easy cheese, but I guess we'll have to do this properly this time. Sounds good. I'm looking forward to that. All right, well, let's move on to the second topic. It's a rather short one. It's our favorite quality of life update. And unanimously, Sinzar and I voted for the unit storage. I guess there's nothing else to say about this. That thank you for not having us waste character pods and or the stat pods, which is another topic that we'll talk about later. But the unit storage, it was badly needed, and I'm very happy that we got it so we can store units. I stored my, I believe, 15 Forka in the unit storage recently. Now that I know she's getting an NVA, I'm very happy about this, so I can remove her from my unit storage and NVA her sometime down the line, 4 months from now, maybe 5 months, who knows. But it's a good update and it's nice to have, right?
Yeah, like you say, it's an amazing update. It's just not a whole lot more to say than that. Like it's great. It makes your inventory management significantly better, but it's really good. Not much else to say about it.
True. Okay, so after talking about half an hour, what feels like half an hour about the topic one, we've got that short topic two. But now here's one more exciting topic, and it's our favorite units of this year. I'll just start us off with White Dragon Ling. I already mentioned this in my top 5 list for units. I just really love White Dragon Ling. She's such a versatile unit. She basically has it all. Mirage for the whole party. She's got multiple imbues and amps, imperils to 4 killer types. She's just the whole package. I mean, I'm kind of sad that she isn't being used as much in Clash of Wills anymore, even though she was technically designed to be a Clash unit. But the versatility outside Clash in trials or boss rushes, it's just. And she has no competition when it comes to that. I mean, Bulwark does the same pretty much for the most part, but she's just a whole package, in my opinion. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, and one thing that Ling really, really excels at that I love using her for is filling the LB gauge,
Oh yeah.
especially on turn two. You can AOE plus 60, which like basically refills nearly anyone in the game. That's so good, and I use her constantly for that reason alone. But she does have an entire toolkit, which is all amazing.
Indeed. Now you put Sephiroth on your list. I'd love to make the joke that it probably applies to all Sephiroth variants and not just the Neo Vision one.
It does, and this is kind of like a two-part choice. On the one hand, I am just a big Sephiroth fan of the character. I've just liked him since Final Fantasy VII when I played it and I saw him like burn down Nibelheim. I just thought that was, kind of extreme, but it was kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
But as far as unit design, I think he is just a really well-designed unit. And people make jokes that he's always only got like 2 buttons in his kit. And that is true, but if you really take a step back and just think about it, he is just everything you want in a DPS unit. He does extremely high damage, which is, good, but he's a single hit finisher. It's easy to time chains, it's easy to
Yep.
refill. He starts with his LB gauge. He needs minimal setup. He can brave shift at will. He's got high natural evasion. He's got his own weapon in peril. He can be in trust spammed over and over and over on like a Dark Visions fight. He can do all your utility stuff in the base form or a Clash of Wills fight. He's got AoE if you need that in his base form. So like this is like everything I want in a DPS unit. He can just do exactly what you need him to do with basically no downsides other than the fact that he is locked to an element, which is unfortunate. But like he's just like everything. Like coming soon is like Tyvis and stuff, and they're really good as well. But they're SLB, so like one of my favorite things to do on like a trial fight is to just spam a unit within trust and unload an LB every single turn. SLB units can't really do that, at least not to the same potency. Like you can still do their base form or their normal LB. It's just obviously far behind their SLB in terms of design. But yeah, Sephiroth being able to do all that is just great. And then something like Tifa, who is everything mostly applies to Tifa as well, but her frames are just like so irritating, whereas Sephiroth is just one hit, you click him, he hits like a second later. It's so easy to cap him.
Oh yeah.
It's just like a quality of use thing that I love with Sephiroth. The reason I almost never use Tifa is because her frames just break everything. Like, I mean,
Yep.
obviously, you can certainly fit her frames into other chains and all. It's just more work. So Sephiroth is where I usually turn to for fights.
Oh, definitely. And for all the same reasons, I put Sky on my list. Not because I truly love Sky's design and all, the sprite is just gorgeous, but it all applies to Sky as well. She has that awesome kit while it's small, but she has a 50% wind amp. She's got the imperil on it. She's got 87 brakes, which is something Sephiroth doesn't, but I mean, we are using 90% brakes these days anyway. But she also got the spear imperil, so she also has that full package. Her LB, Brave Shifted LB, is super easy to use, although it's 2 hits. It still fits into anything right in, and she's the best LB unit for Clash. I'm saying jokingly because she's the only LB finishing unit in Clash, but even so, I mean, she's just great. And the second DPS overall in Clash, she has that same upside of Sephiroth, where I would rate her on the same level of convenientness to use, I'd say.
Oh yeah, and something else. I think you actually mentioned it. Is her accuracy down
Oh yeah.
is a really powerful tool that not many units can apply, and hers is probably the easiest to maintain because it's like I think it's 4 turns per LB, and her LB can be done every other turn with no support whatsoever by just shifting. So yeah,
Yep.
she is amazing for the accuracy down.
Yeah, it's even 50% accuracy down, right?
It is. It is. It's
Yeah,
very
that's
strong.
it's super strong indeed. Now you've got Cacteria on your list. She didn't make my list, but she's really high up there for me too. So I guess we all know the reason for Cacteria being on this list is, on the one hand, probably the Fist Imperil that she's gotten, right?
It is. It's part of it, but I actually used her quite a bit even before her recent updates. She is like most things you want in a breaker, but then she does more stuff. Like most of the breakers you would bring don't really do a whole lot other than breaking, but Cacteria has, like you mentioned, the Fist Imperil. She's AoE. She's got really good um, elemental imperils. She's got 3 different weapon imperils. Obviously, the dagger and sword are pretty small, but she does still have 3 weapon imperils. She can imbue the party. She can support chain. She's got multiple chaining frames.
Yep.
She can do all ailments. She can do like break gauge stuff. She's really, really easy to use with, again, the true Brave Shift. And she's got 50% natural evasion. She can equip swords and daggers, meaning she is like brainlessly easy to make your provoke tank.
Yep.
It's like she is just great to use all around. I've been using her since I got her, like when she first came out. And then, of course, after her updates, they changed her to like being really meta because of this 35% fist imperil, and fists are like one of the best weapons in the entire game of Brave Exvius. So
True.
she actually saw use on quite a few of the top teams for this last Dark Visions, I think, too.
Oh, yeah, true. For the turn four strat, she certainly
Hmm.
was the go-to girl. And one thing I'd like to mention also while I'm looking at this list is that 4 out of the 5 units we're discussing here are global exclusive units. That's how good Gumi has become at designing units, I think.
Oh yeah, it's really depressing because like Alim used to make good units, or at least a lot of good units, and they still
True.
do make some good units, but most of the units these days from JP, like 4 out of 5, are just train wrecks of bad design.
Yep.
It's frustrating because like I don't want to be like mean and critical of the JP devs, because without the JP devs, we wouldn't have Brave XPS, period. But recently, man, they have just gone off the rails and it's just not as high quality anymore.
Yeah, what I don't understand about all these SLB units is their grounders, like 280 magic or attack. Like, who does that, and why do we have something like this? I mean, even a premium unit such as Orin only has a 280% attack buff on his grounders. I just don't know why. Why?
Oh yeah, and like the premium Yuna, like she is just a whole topic of herself of like what happened there.
Indeed. And yeah, we also got Mastermind Xorn on the list. I don't think we really need to discuss him because Xon has been here for an entirety in Dark Visions. That spreading capability is just off the charts, isn't it?
Oh yeah, the debuff or the buff steal and spread is a
Yeah.
is a completely and entirely unique mechanic to him. It's a global exclusive mechanic. It's really fun. But something else I really love about Zon, and you don't see it as often, but when it matters, it really matters, is the fact that he has the single turn hide. And
Oh
that just
yeah.
like opens up all kind of cheese strategies for like hiding and coming back and reviving. There's only like 3 or 4 units in the entire game that have a 1 turn hide. Most of the hides are like 3 to 5 turns randomly, and that is just not reliable for building a strategy around because it's RNG. But Zon, I think Shadow and 1 or 2 others are the only units with a single turn guaranteed 1 round hide. And
Yeah.
that is so useful for quite a few like cheese strategies. And I really enjoy doing that kind of stuff.
Yes, I actually saw the cheese strat with fighting on a Dark Visions on one of your earlier videos half a year ago or so when we still used Xon repeatedly in Dark Visions, and I was like, yeah, that's a genius idea.
Oh yeah, he's just really cool. I was hoping he got Neo Visions Awakening for Black
Same,
Friday. It
same.
didn't happen, but maybe next anniversary or something that'll surprise us. Who knows?
Yeah, the dream lives on. We're all full on copium on this one. All right, let's move on to the fourth topic, and that's the worst new feature or event. Now, Since and I both put the pork farming, which was prior to the Chronicle battles. It was just super tedious. I don't know if you guys still remember this, but we only had these 30 energy events where we could farm these porks one at a time at 30 per fight. It was super tedious, and with the Chronicle battles, I mean, it's one of the better features that we've gotten, or events, one should say. We can farm them at, well, the highest I've seen was about 700, 800, I think. So that's gotten a lot better, but the pork farming was really bad in the early days.
Yeah, and when you asked me about my thing, it was actually fresh on my mind because for the most part, this has been like handled by Chronicles. You don't really have to go out of your way to farm anymore. But very recently, I got Summer Sniper Faisalis off banner, and I went to level
Oh,
her, and it turns out she still uses the old style of pog farming, where you got to do the seasonal greetings in the vortex, and I had to go and farm that fight for like, I don't know, 6 times. And then I went and farmed the rest of the week because that was actually a dead energy week. So I spent the entire week farming that stupid Pog fight because in case I ever off banner Frisia or Shinju in the future, they use the same ones. Yeah, and also global exclusive units still don't have a Chronicle. You have to farm the Louise or the Elena in the
all
Vortex.
right.
And it's just pointless busy work. They're not exciting fights. They're boring fights. They're energy intensive, and it's like this should just be removed from the game. It was a bad design when they put it in when Neovisions first came out. They thankfully mostly fixed it with changing it to Chronicles, but there's still quite a few units that have to use the old style of farming for Brave Insignias, and it's just get rid of this. No one enjoys pog farming.
Indeed. Okay, well, let's move on to topic number 5, which is quality of life updates that we want. Now, Since and I put the vision card sorting, favoriting, and filtering options first. And this just came to my mind recently when I was gearing for the Dragon Quest QoL Up units, or QoL Up trials, quote unquote. Dragon Lord and S-Dark, and I was looking for a specific vision card and I couldn't find it. I looked it up earlier today. I have 780 slots filled on my vision card tab. And I'm like, okay, where's this vision card? I scrolled through it, I couldn't find it, and I was like, oh geez. Now do I have to spend 5 minutes to find the vision card I wanted? And I ended up just clicking a random one and was the airship one, and I was done with it. And that's the whole reason why I put the sorting, favoriting, or filtering function, or at least let us search for specific vision cards. That'd be good too. I'd be content with that one.
Yeah, like this, like the Vision Card user interface from the day it came out was just the simple thing of mixing Cactuar cards in your main Vision Card list.
Yeah.
Like, what is the point of that? You've got to scroll through just waves of Cactuar cards to get to the ones you want. When you get to the Vision cards you want, you've got to look through like duplicate cards. Okay, where's my level 10 Vision card out of the 4 copies I have? Because 3 of them are level 1. And it's like you said, if you've got a ton of Vision cards, you've got to scroll through hundreds in some cases to find the one you want. It's like just a terrible, terrible user interface. It's still here a year and a half later. JP has not touched it at all. Global has
Oof.
not touched it. This needs a quality of life update for Vision Card user interface.
Indeed, it does. It really does. Oh boy. And another thing that you also have on your list is the removal of all characters and stat pods, which is something we already mentioned a few minutes ago, and I
Yeah,
totally agree
this
with this.
this is such an outdated mechanic. Like it made sense back in 2016 where you would level units and like explorations, and it's like, oh, we could get from event rewards some cactuars and speed up the leveling process. But 5 or 6 years later, this serves no purpose anymore because like you pull a new unit on the banner, the unit comes at level 1. Okay, you've got to go feed him cactuars, evolve the unit to the next rarity, feed cactuars, evolve to the rarity, feed cactuars. You got to do this 6 times to get to like Neovisions or Neovisions or a 7-star or whatever.
Yep.
Then you've got to go to the vortex. You've got to go to the laboratory, buy red star quartz, buy the stat breakers, go back into the inventory menu, feed stat pods. Like this whole process is so tedious and click intensive. It really turns off new players. And I've seen players say this is like the menu simulator gotcha game because you've got to go through 42 menus to update your new unit. And what gameplay purpose does this serve? Like cactuars and stat pots are just an old, outdated mechanic. Should be removed from the game. Units should come off the banner at max level. The stat pots shouldn't even be a thing. Just make the
Yep.
default the max stats. That would clear out thousands of inventory space. It would clear inventory management. It'd be easier on the server to not store all these useless enhancement units.
Hmm.
Like this is just a quality of life change we need. Like update the game to not use these once upon a time relevant mechanics, but nowadays, like they give you so many stat pots from raid. Like I actually vendored a bunch of magic stat pots because I even had all my attack power units maxed on magic pots because I have so many. It's
Wow.
what is the point? It is not adding any kind of fun gameplay. It is just adding tedium. They could easily get rid of it.
Yep, I have to agree. Like, I went from 1,900 storage space on my pods before the raid started. That was the before the Final Fantasy X raid started to overcapping on my enhancement tab. Like, it was just so tedious. I also vendored dozens of pods, characters, and trust moves. Just I can't afford to. My storage, my unit reserves is also full on characters and pods, etc. I just don't know what to do anymore. My units are all max. I just blanket max all my units whenever I get them, just because I want to get rid of these pods. It just serves no purpose, like you said. So I'm really hoping that they kind of fix this. I mean, a band-aid fix would be to just make them stack, so we don't have 500 individual burst pots, for example, but only one that has 500 of them. That would be a band-aid fix, but I totally agree. We should get rid of it entirely.
Oh yeah.
And another thing, name search for units. Now, we do have a lot of filters already for units, but I'm a dumb person when it comes to this. I just still scroll through the units and I miss them most of the times. And I wish we could just search for units directly, like we can for materia or equipment pieces. It would just quicken things up when I need to. Like especially when I'm looking for my Lunar Freyas, which one is the correct one. I do have 2 EX+3 Lunar Freyas and 1 EX+1 Lunar Freya, and I want to pick the correct EX+3 Lunar Freya and not the wrong one. And if I could just search for the right one. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, that'd definitely be a cool thing for them to add. It should be pretty easy for them to add too, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so too. If they can do it for for equipment pieces and materials, why not for units as well? And another thing that is probably on everyone's mind is the friend list refresh button. It's the most annoying thing to not be able to refresh the unit list on the go or the friend list on the go.
Oh yeah, I know. Like recently, for the past like 6 months, again, this is like a side effect of trials just not being a thing anymore. Thankfully, for the most part, you don't really look for a friend anymore because like there's just nothing to take a friend other than a bonus unit, and hopefully most of your friends list is a bonus unit. But like when I was doing or when I still do trial videos, and like I'll ask in Discord for someone to build me a friend, and I'll get like one or two people to build me a friend. Well, now I'm searching for one or two units on my 130 friends list. The game only offers like 15 at a time. It's random which 15. It is just a nightmare as you close the app and reopen it to update the friends list, and it takes like 2.5 minutes to log into the game.
Hmm.
It's just like it would be so simple. Just click a refresh button and update your friends. Or something even better is make like your whole friends list always available. That would be the easier thing. But assuming you can't do that for technical reasons, just a button to refresh the friends list. Put a cooldown on it like Record Keeper does. You can only click it every 20 seconds.
Oh.
That'd still be a huge upgrade as opposed to taking 3 or 4 minutes to close the app and log back in again. Because this game, for me at least, on my phone, logging back in is very slow.
Yeah, for me too. On the emulator too, and on my phone, I'm using an old Galaxy S10 Plus. It takes 2 or 3 minutes. I know that on iPhones it's generally quicker because I think the game is more tuned towards Apple devices, but on my Samsung phone it really takes a long time to load. Are you using an iPhone or a Samsung or an
No,
Android
I
phone?
actually use a Samsung. My phone's really old. I use a Samsung Galaxy 8, so
Oh,
it is definitely time for me to update soon.
I might update to actually an iPhone sometime down the line. I've got a MacBook, I've got an iPad. I think it's time to finally switch to Apple in all its entirety. But we'll see. Anyway, so the last point I have on my list is in collect all for expeditions. Now, this pretty much the same vein as you mentioned earlier with the removal of characters. It's just too many menus. Like you press the collect button, you then have to you're getting a new menu where you see what you're getting. You then have to press again for the new expedition. Have to confirm that you want to use it. Want to use an item as well. You press OK and then it started. It's just so many menus upon menus. There should just be a collect all button. I feel like that would ease the burden a little bit and make the game flow just better, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a quality of life update that I didn't realize I wanted until you mentioned it, and now I want it.
I'm hoping for the best. I mean, it takes away dev time that they could use on new units. I understand that these things are always probably considered, but there's just no time for it. But I'm hoping that one day they'll have enough time to implement all the things that we mentioned here because I feel like they are badly needed for the better flow of the game in general. And there's probably still tons of even other things that they could do to just make our lives better as players. All right, let's move on to the last topic, and it's the worst units. If we have the best units, we also need to talk about the worst units. And one name is pretty striking. Let's address the elephant in the room. That is Eldrin on this list. Why don't you take it away, Sinzar?
Yeah, for me, Eldrin, it's not so much the worst unit. It's more of like one of the most disappointing units because I'm like, uh, ever since Global started like really doing decent designs, I've been like a big fan of Global exclusives. And then last year we had like the Halloween banner with Ibarra, and I think everyone knows how much of a grand slam Ibarra was in terms of unit design. She was just meta for like 6, 8 months. Everyone used her for everything, and she was great. And then after that, we had like the next big global exclusive for holidays was Eldrin, and like he was everything Ibarra was not. Ibarra was just an amazing DPS, easy to use. She had all kind of good stuff. And then Eldrin was like, he's a hybrid with terrible damage. He had this weird wannabe tank kit that just doesn't really work, especially while trying the DPS. He was locked to an element that just wasn't really used at the time for the most part. Like people were saying he's going to be like the demon chimera killer. And while there were a few Eldrin clears using like EX3 super whale clears in 15 turns, for the most part, he couldn't even do the one trial people thought he was designed for. And like just overall, he was a huge miss, especially coming off the back of Ibarra, who was just such an amazing, like one of the top 5 units of the entire year was probably Ibarra. And then Eldrin was like, whoa, what happened here?
Oh yeah, indeed. And I think his status of being one of the most disappointing units will reverberate throughout time when we potentially get his re-release either next week or the week after when the Christmas season comes back. And I'm totally expecting him to get some morale things. And truth be told, I do expect the worst. I'm just not gonna hold my breath for Eldrin's rework. I'm totally expecting him to be another complete dud.
I hope not, because I got to admit, his sprite is really cool. I think, like, especially the one with the wolf. I actually don't even have Eldrin, so I think the wolf one is the shifted sprite. And like, I saw his sprite, I'm like, I really want this unit. Then we saw the data mine. I'm like, nah. But like, if they fix him, which is certainly possible, if they fix him with like EX upgrades or unit kit revamp, during the Christmas banner next week or something, that'll be great. And I'll chase him and I'll go for it. But like, he needs a lot of help, and I really hope they fix him because he looks super cool, and I would love to have him on the team. But Gumi, you got to make him worth actually chasing for me to do that.
Indeed, I totally agree that his Brave Shoot sprite looks absolutely amazing with the Ice Wolf. It looks really cool, and I think one of the things that needs to change are his chaining abilities. All he does is chain Absolute Mirror of Equity, and we have no Clash of Wills unit or very few even regular units that chain Absolute Mirror of Equity these days. It's gotta be either Bolting Strike or Stardust Ray, or else he's just dead on arrival again. I feel like.
Oh yeah, or make his or give him like a big finisher or something.
Yeah,
one hit finisher.
That too, yeah. Let's just hope for the best, but I'm really not holding my breath for Eldrin, if he comes back, that is. So another unit that I got on my list, I had on my top 5 worst unit list video lately, is Albert Girl Riku. Now I understand that Alan Wondra used her for his top score in Dark Visions, and don't get fooled by this. She's still bad. She had her one-off trial where she worked, but there was like the 16 turn strat, which I used from Resnut, that also works, yields the same amount of damage, it just takes longer. So I think Riku's time to shine has come and gone, and she is back in a dumpster in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, she still fights for true double hand fist builds, which Tifa does too, Carton does too, Lara does too. You're probably not gonna spend much time using Albert Girl Riku eventually, at least from my opinion.
Yeah, she doesn't really do a whole lot. Like, she does have the 160 Fairy Killer, which can give her a niche in some scenarios. That's the reason people used her on the Tetra fight, because it is a spirit and she is technically the highest AoE spirit killer. But
there's also Blue Mage Fiend.
Blue Mage Fiend is 150. It's similar, but
right, it's 50. Right.
Yeah, Riku's at EX3 is 160, so it's 10% higher. It's not that big a deal, and it's not really, Yeah, I agree. Riku is just a little bit of a miss from the JP server.
Indeed. Now we both got Coralie or Chorel. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but let's call him Coralie. I think that's how you pronounce him too, right?
That's the way I do it, yeah.
Yeah. He's just, I feel like he's another one of these huge misses. hard locked to whips even because one of his passives is I think like almost 200% attack with a whip. So and whips are not actually that meta at all. We don't even have good whips these days. So I feel like he didn't serve any purpose. He was meant to be a brain dead chainer, but we got tag trainers shortly thereafter, and his role was completely demolished.
Yeah, so the reason I picked him is not really because his damage is bad. It certainly is, but it's more the whole kit design is bad. Like he could have had the exact same kit, just higher modifiers, and his damage was, let's pretend like his damage was on par with the meta. He would still be a terrible unit for a lot of other reasons because, like you mentioned, he is basically soft locked to whips. Whips are a terrible weapon because they have bad variants. There's no whip in peril. There's basically no support for whips from materia. There's no killer whips. There's only two whips in the game that are double hand, two relevant whips. There's Yigo's STMR and then his own, which is locked to dark. He is locked to dark element, which if you're as powerful as Sephiroth, you can deal with that. When you're a badly designed unit, being also locked to an element is just really bad. And people say like he's got good chaining damage, but he needs to ramp up his chains. It does ramp quickly. I think on like turn 2 or 3, you're already at maxed rack. But it's just like there's just so many things where they went wrong in his kit, and it's just like this unit was poorly designed, and he still has not been fixed in JP. JP does sometimes go through and like update an old unit and fix the bad ones, like Guardian Blade Charlotte. Another one, she was actually gonna be on my list because she was again a complete train wreck. The reason I didn't add her is because JP fixed her. Corley still has no fix in sight. So yeah.
Well, that's too bad. I think they themselves realized it's not worth it to fix a whip unit in the end. And for mostly the same reasons, I put Emperor Vlad on my list. He's just a mage that came out. He doesn't really have anything to go for. Like, even his STMR is just bad. Isn't it the rod that gives you a buff for one turn and it's not even 300% magic? I don't know. I pulled him. I was happy because I got a new unit, but then I realized, wait, he's super useless. He doesn't even deal much damage. He just sits there to bloat the NV pool at the end of the day because I haven't ever seen him being used in any relevant content, not even just for farming content. He was just there and immediately forgotten. Wasn't he even on the Guardian Blade Charlotte banner? Or didn't he come out a week after? Or something like that, and neither unit was good.
Yeah, these whole block of JP units, as well as my next one was like Berserker, Corley, Vlad, Charlotte. These all came out before the Final Fantasy VII power creep. So that's part of their problem is they came out right before a huge power jump. But it really feels like the JP server, just like they knew Final Fantasy VII was coming. They knew we're about to do huge power creep, but we don't want to like preempt that with units before that hype banner. So they were like, okay, we're just going to phone it in. We're going to put out 2 months of absolute and utter trash units that have no purpose anywhere. We're going to like condition people to, oh, these units are so bad. 2 months in a row of just bad garbage. Then we're going to drop Final Fantasy VII Remake with Sephiroth and Tifa and Aerith. And like, okay, guys, we know you've been skipping for 2 months. It's time for you to pull out that credit card and go all in on these good units. That's what it feels like. It feels like these units were intentionally, specifically designed to be trash on purpose. Because like, they know how to make good units. They know these units were absolutely no good, and they still made them. So this had to be intentional.
True. Yeah, I can't think of a reason. Although one could add that Mazurka was supposed to be the secret sauce for one of the Dark Visions, where you had a plant boss at the end. But then Gumi changed things up, and that plant boss never came. And everyone
Oh,
who
no,
pulled hard for Mazurka was kind of, well, why did I do that? I will never financially recover from this.
that's so disappointed. I did not pull for Berserker, but I did get her off banner like really soon after her. So I'm like, oh, okay, I got an off banner Berserker. I know she's trash, but at least I'll have one fight to use her in the future, and that never happened. But
Yep.
But Mazurka's mostly the same problem as Coralie, where it's not specifically that her damage is low, which is my problem with her. It's her design. It's like this is like the poster child for why dragoons are not good if
Yeah.
they're double hand is because they hit one time. That's still not fixed on global. JP fixed it, and global will get that fix eventually. But months ago, that fix was nowhere in sight, and she's a double hand dragoon that just absolutely loses all her power when you force dual wield on her because it takes up all her slots.
Yep.
And yeah, like it's just a terrible designed unit. It's not the problem of the DPS, it's the problem of the unit design, and it is just a bad design.
Yeah, and one thing to add is that her jump is a 2-turn delay, whereas Arden and Noctis, they got changed on global to have 1-turn delay, which is so much better.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right, and that's pretty much the end of it for today. Thank you all for watching. I'd also like to shout out Sinzar once again. Thank you very, very much for being here with me and doing this with me today. I was super excited about this, and I'm very happy we got the chance to talk about the 2021 in Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. So thank you very much for joining me on this today. And do you have any closing comments?
Hopefully Gumi is watching this video, and hopefully they really pay attention to our talking points about quality of life changes, because those are the changes I feel like are the most likely to potentially get their attention and things they can do about. Like, it feels like Gumi has kind of given up on trying to fix the JP train wrecks, but at the very least, they can hopefully still fix some of these quality of life problems like sorting and vision cards and all that, maybe.
Yeah, I really hope so too, that they take note of some of the things that we talked about. It will make life so much better. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. I hope this was a fun video for you guys as well. And we'll see each other potentially, well, the next coming days. Do you have any videos planned for the next couple of days, Sinzar?
People on my channel have asked me to do some updated like guides on old trials for like newer players or players that are returning and still didn't beat trials, and like they don't have things like Sephiroth who just OTK it, and their friends list is out of date because they've taken a break or whatever. So that's what I'm probably gonna be doing for the rest of the week, because this week is a super dead week.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing to do.
Indeed, I just did the not toying around an updated guide just recently. I saw you did the Chimera trial yesterday. So yeah, we're just doing some old things these days to fill in the void of nothingness in FFBE. All right, well, that's gonna be it. Just look out for new Sinzar videos over the next few days. Look out for mine as well. But the real deal starts on Thursday when we get to do Clash of Wills again. Probably gonna get a new cool unit, hopefully. I'm potentially gonna pull for the new unit if it's good. I know you are probably gonna pull for it, right? If it's good,
Oh yeah, as long as the unit isn't just absolutely garbage, I'm gonna go for it. Even if the unit is just like mediocre in Clash of Wills, I'll probably go for it just because I want all the Clash of Wills units.
Nice. So yeah, there you have it. There's a few and very exciting videos coming. Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of the Sunday, evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're from. See you then. Bye bye.
Later.